he's had a real problem with Elon from the beginning of this thing. But it's like he's in this leftist thought bubble. He is in the most leftist thought bubble available, which is Hollywood. And, you know, and I think also, you know, he famously, there's some videos of him in blackface, and those came out, and he had apologized for them, and I think he took that hit and like really doubled down the other direction.
Jimmy Kimmel's a loser. I do Jimmy Kimmel. I did him a lot. Yeah. And he'd be standing on the sidewalk. Oh, sir, may I bring you in? He'd bring me in every time. The whole show is talking bad about Trump.
He called us doofuses when we had you on.
He's a group of doofuses in flat-brimmed hats.
Guess what? We
Ask him how many.
What he did.
Ask him. Yeah, you do bigger. Yeah, you do. His show's dying.
Jimmy Kimmel has just been hit with a staggering $500 million lawsuit from President Trump, an over-the-top legal drama that's turning heads everywhere. Meanwhile, Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly are reveling in the chaos. Rogan tears into Kimmel like a comic bombing in front of a tough crowd, while Kelly dismantles his Hollywood ego with razor-sharp precision. From smug tirades to courtroom theatrics, this isn't just a roast, it's a full-scale comedy wrecking ball. Buckle up, because Kimmel's crash and burn has become late night's most brutal spectacle yet.
I mean, I struggle to even mention that guy's name. He's such an absolute, I can't stand him. But anyway, it's just my thought bubble out loud. We took a look at some of their reactions to the news of Trump's win. Look at this.
Hey there. How are you doing? If you watch the show regularly, I'm guessing you're not doing great. Yeah, me neither.
Let's be honest, it was a terrible night last night. It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go, for healthcare, for our climate. It was a terrible night for poor people, for our allies in Ukraine, for NATO.
You know how much it costs to produce Jimmy Kimmel's show? I guarantee you it's tens and tens of millions. It could be as much as 100 million. I have no idea. You know how much Tucker's video cost? Nothing. You know how much Jimmy Kimmel, how many people he gets tuning in on an average night? Just last week, his average was, in the overall, meaning all viewers, 1.5 million. In the key demo, 236,000. Tucker would have been embarrassed to pull that on any night he was on the Fox News.
Joe Rogan could hardly believe what he was reading. President Trump, still the sitting commander-in-chief, had just slammed Jimmy Kimmel with a jaw-dropping $500 million lawsuit. Not a polite warning, not some stiff lawyer's letter packed with legal jargon, but a full-blown, $500 million haymaker. Rogan was already laughing out loud before he even made it to the end of the headline.
There's not a chance in hell that this is funny or gonna work. And when you see those flat, corny, late-night monologue jokes with no audience, Colbert, there's Jimmy Kimmel, there's Fallon. What they're doing is just like reading off of a teleprompter, so a bunch of really good joke writers wrote them some stuff, and then they're playing to the audience, and the audience is like laughing, so they get this feedback, and they know how to do that. They stand there, and there's applause signs, and then there's producers. There's the warm-up guy that's literally telling people to clap. They're like, okay, explaining to the people, okay, when Jimmy comes out, I want a big round of applause. Let's practice this right now.
He leaned back, eyes wide, laughing as if he'd just witnessed a kangaroo win a heavyweight title. Of all the headlines flooding the news, this one was pure comedy gold. Jimmy Kimmel, the man who built his career smirking through teleprompter one-liners, had finally poked the wrong bear. And this bear wasn't just waking up, it came charging, armed with lawyers and the full weight of the federal machine. Joe dove into the madness like a kid tearing into the long-awaited sequel to his favorite video game. He kicked things off by comparing Kimmel's $500 million lawsuit fiasco to a house cat squaring up against a freight train. There's bold. And then there's the kind of wild delusion Kimmel must have been running on to think the President of the United States would simply shrug off a nightly barrage of mockery. As Joe put it, Kimmel seemed to believe that monologues were a shield of immunity, like hiding behind a desk somehow made him untouchable by the law.
And do you know who's going to be hosting the Academy Awards this year? Jimmy Kimmel. Do you know who's worn blackface repeatedly and spoken inner city sort of urban accent saying she needs to darn those socks? Jimmy Kimmel as Oprah, as a fat-suited, black-faced, darning socks Oprah. Now, if you are of the left, that's fine. If you are of the right and happen to just say, hey, people used to wear blackface and nobody freaked out about it, you get fired.
Ex-Joe tore into the sheer audacity of Kimmel's smug routine. Watching Jimmy deliver political jokes, he said, is like watching a chihuahua bark commands at a SWAT team. It's loud, it's relentless, but nobody's actually taking it seriously. And now, that constant yapping came with a massive price tag. Then Joe pivoted to Kimmel's comedy itself, ripping it to shreds. His style, Joe argued, feels like the kind of material that gets a forced laugh from a room full of nervous interns just trying to keep their jobs. It's not sharp. It's not daring. It's like warm milk, bland, forgettable, and the slow, quiet death of real comedy.
Horrified after yours truly said in 2018 that people used to don dark makeup in order to imitate well-known black celebrities and it wasn't a big deal. Absolutely ate up the performance by Hollywood darling Mr. Kimmel, whose blackface costumes included his oft-repeated bit as basketball star Karl Malone.
Joe leaned in and said the real joke wasn't Jimmy's show, it was the delusion that Kimmel still thinks he's the cool kid in the cafeteria. Bro, he riffed, you're a network puppet with a Hollywood laugh track. That rebellion. Ship sailed a decade ago, now you're just clapping back at power like a substitute teacher who found a whistle, night after night going after Trump? Joe said it's like tossing a pebble at a freight liner and bragging about the dent. Sure, it gets attention, right up until the train slaps you with a $500 million repair bill. He couldn't stop laughing at the mental image, Jimmy on the phone with lawyers, frantically scrubbing old YouTube clips like a kid erasing chalkboard insults before the principal walks in, but Joe didn't stop at the visual gag. To him, this lawsuit isn't just about cash, it's psychological warfare. Trump doesn't just want a courtroom win, he wants real estate in Kimmel's head. Picture Jimmy sweating through lunch breaks, whispering defamation hypotheticals to baristas, jolting awake at 3 a.m. over looming court dates, then came the punchline that landed like a hook. The irony is almost poetic. The guy who built a career mocking celebrities is now crying foul because one of them isn't laughing back. It's the school bully whining after the quiet kid finally punches him in the face, except the quiet kid is Trump. And he's got 500 million reasons to ruin your Wednesday, and the material that started all this? Joe scoffed. Kimmel's Trump bits aren't even that sharp. They're surface-level zingers, the kind you'd expect from a bitter burner Twitter account with 10 followers and no hobbies. Somewhere along the way, Jimmy decided he was a comedic revolutionary. Spoiler alert, you're not Jon Stewart. And Jon would have told you to change the script years ago.
Numbers were 3 times what Jimmy Kimmel gets. And Tucker's little basement video that he did from clearly like his cabin that he broadcasts out of Maine in literally has 21 million views. Okay, 21 million views. Whereas, as I point out, on ABC, a massive network that comes into your home for free, that you have to make no effort to find, at best, Jimmy Kimmel can get 1.5 million. He needs to have a little self-perspective before going out there and hurling these insults because he looks a little silly.
As Joe wrapped up his takedown, he quipped that this lawsuit might be the most exciting thing to happen to Jimmy Kimmel live in years. At least now, he joked, people have a reason to Google Kimmel that doesn't involve reruns or painfully awkward interviews with actors pushing flops and cape movies. While Joe was still laughing at the absurdity of it all, across town, Megyn Kelly was sharpening her scalpel, not a punchline. She didn't join the conversation with cackles or over-the-top energy. She came in amused, but with the cool, calculated tone of someone who's seen this play out 100 times before. To Megyn, the Trump-Kimmel lawsuit wasn't just drama, it was inevitable theater. The court jester had finally crossed the line, and the king came down swinging with a golden gavel. Megyn didn't hold back. She called Kimmel the kind of guy who mistakes Hollywood applause for cultural relevance. He genuinely seems to believe that mocking Trump in front of a clapping studio audience makes him some kind of resistance hero. In reality, she said, he's just reciting someone else's safe, sanitized punchlines, served cold, dripping with sarcasm, and about as edgy as a butter knife. The only real risk in Kimmel's comedy, Megyn quipped, is that viewers might nod off before the second joke even lands.
Kind of stuff as it continues to go in the same direction where more and more things become forbidden and toxic, to the point where, you know, the Elon Musk joking around about my pronouns are prosecute Fauci. Jimmy Kimmel made a tweet back to him. He said, your pronouns are ass and hole, which is pretty funny. But then
Did he really?
Yes. And so then I read that, and there was people saying, please don't joke about pronouns. It's transphobic to joke about pronouns. So they were chiding him.
Megyn took Jimmy apart like a surgeon, calm, precise, unforgiving. Sure, maybe he was funny back in the Man Show days with all the wild, questionable bits, but that version is long gone. What's left, she argued, is a corporate-approved, image-polished shell stuck in perpetual outrage that smells of desperation. He's the high school rebel who became the hall monitor, she said, and now he can't figure out why nobody takes him seriously. Then she zeroed in on the real punchline: Kimmel mocking Trump night after night while acting untouchable. Throwing shade is one thing, forgetting the guy you're roasting is also the president, with lawyers that move faster than your teleprompter, is something else entirely. Mocking Trump during his presidency? About as brave, she said, as yelling at a mirror. Zero risk. Maximum smug. She looked at the lawsuit and called it pure karmic comedy. The man who made a career laughing at others now staring down a legal avalanche for assuming he was immune. This isn't about free speech, she said. It's about cheap shots. And when cheap shots finally come with a bill, you don't get to cry victim, especially when your whole act depends on provoking reactions for clicks and ratings. Megyn pictured Kimmel scrambling back to the writer's room like it was a fallout shelter, his team frantically rewriting the next 10 monologues to sound edgy without triggering another legal hit. It's like watching a magician try to pull a rabbit from a hat that's already been entered into evidence.
How weak and pathetic is a guy like that? The Tonight Show, which is dying. They're all dying. Where's Johnny Carson? Bring back Johnny. It made you appreciate, right, Uncle Sam? It made you appreciate the greatness of Johnny Carson. I go on a show, and he goes, "Is that your real hair?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Do you mind if I mess it up?" So he grabs it, and he starts really going crazy, right? And everybody laughed, and it was a big thing, and it was a big hit. It was all over the place, and he got great ratings and all. And 6 months later, he went out because he was under pressure to apologize because he humanized.
Megyn wasn't done, not by a long shot. She said the lawsuit shattered the cozy illusion that late-night hosts live inside some magical, consequence-free comedy bubble. Kimmel has been dining out on anti-Trump material for years, strutting as the fearless voice of the people, but forgetting one crucial rule: if you live in a glass studio, maybe don't hurl bricks at the president. Then she widened the frame and aimed at Hollywood itself. Jimmy isn't just a guy with a mic, she said. He's a cog in a self-congratulatory media machine that treats criticism like a one-way street. When Trump swings back, it's a national crisis. When Kimmel unloads night after night, it's just jokes. She rolled her eyes like she'd watched this double standard play out 100 times, and she probably has. With a dry smirk, she added that this lawsuit might actually be the best thing to happen to Kimmel in years. At least, people are watching. Honestly, his ratings needed the punch in the face. Trump might not only threaten his wallet, he might accidentally make him relevant again. Megyn painted the scene: Kimmel under moody studio lights, dramatic music swelling in his head, sweat beading as he reads the filing and realizes this isn't a sketch. This isn't rehearsal. This is real. This is $500 million real. She closed with a jab straight to the bank account. Better start selling the branded desk mugs, those trademark tear-streaked monologues, maybe even a few celebrity numbers, whatever it takes to pay for what's barreling down the track.
Last night was the 96th Academy Awards show, and while you might have missed it, there was one clear winner. No, not Oppenheimer. It was sanctimonious leftists for their lead role in pretending they are better than you. Several people shared in this achievement. Winner number one, Jimmy Kimmel. For the 4th time, Kimmel hosted the Oscars before an adoring crowd of Hollywood stars who laughed and curried favor with the man who wore blackface so many times.
And then Megyn said what everyone else was already thinking. This wasn't about silencing Jimmy Kimmel, it was about sending a message. Trump doesn't just want a courtroom victory. He wants to make it crystal clear that the era of smug celebrity activism without consequences is over. If you're going to take shots at the king, you'd better hit the mark. And Jimmy? He missed like a blindfolded toddler throwing darts at the wrong wall. As the dust settled, Joe and Megyn found themselves on opposite sides of the same battlefield, too. Very different voices, perfectly aligned in their disbelief and amusement. Because in the saga of Kimmel versus Trump, this wasn't just a legal clash. It was a roast cleverly disguised as litigation. And for once, the punchlines were striking back. Joe jumped in again, practically doubled over with laughter, shaking his head like he'd just seen someone wipe out on a banana peel while carrying a wedding cake. He said the most poetic twist of all was that Jimmy finally got what he always wanted, Trump's attention. Just not the kind that comes with a viral clip or a headline. No, this attention arrived in a thick stack of legal documents with a dollar figure so absurd it sounds like something a 4th grader would blurt out to win an argument at recess.
Nobody's going to care anymore. It's like you're seeing it take place with late night television. Nobody gives a fuck about it anymore.
I know.
And it's slowly, you have a bad business model and you're not adapting.
Yeah, the creativity's gone for late night comedy, right?
Joe didn't let up. He said Kimmel poked the bear but forgot that this bear owns skyscrapers, commands an army of lawyers, and has a presidential-level immunity to boredom. Trump didn't clap back with a tweet, he came in swinging with a wrecking ball. Now Jimmy's standing there, mic in hand, out of punchlines and surrounded by legal disclaimers. Joe joked that the next time Kimmel dares to crack a Trump joke, there'll be a row of attorneys in the front row, taking notes like it's defamation. The musical, then, in classic Joe Rogan fashion, he got philosophical. This whole mess, he said, proves that being loud isn't the same as being brave. And just because you've got a camera doesn't mean you're untouchable. Kimmel thought he was slaying dragons, but in reality, he was lobbing spitballs at a tank. And now that tank? It's parked in his driveway, holding a lawsuit in one hand and wearing a smug grin with the other.
Do you think that's him or a writer? Can't you tell?
Jimmy Kimmel?
Yeah.
No, it's him, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
good. That's a good one.
He's a comic.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, he used to host The Man Show. I mean, he's done some pretty outrageous back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, for hee-hees and haw-haws.
No, that's a good joke on top of a good joke.
Yeah, it's a good joke.
Meanwhile, Megyn lit her torch again, laughing at the image of Kimmel spending his weekend frantically typing into Google, "How many jokes equal defamation?" The man who once strutted around as a comedy rebel, she said, is about to find out what real resistance looks like. No hashtags, no standing ovations from A-listers, just cold, hard legal firepower. The kind that doesn't care about applause or Emmy trophies. She went on, Kimmel might try to spin this into another monologue, maybe even fish for sympathy, but the truth is, he got too comfortable. He treated mocking Trump like it was a zero-risk hobby. Now the clock's running, the stakes are real, and Jimmy's the one backpedaling. As the cameras rolled, both Joe and Megyn found rare common ground. Kimmel's no longer the jester tossing safe jokes from behind castle walls, he's wandered straight into the arena, and the lion has decided it's feeding time. That first roar, the $500 million lawsuit, was just the warm-up.